And good morning. Welcome to Today on a Wednesday morning. I'm Matt Lauer.
And I'm Ann Curry. Good morning, everybody.
And this is not as I expected to ever leave this couch after 15 years, but I am so grateful.
From happy morning music to tears live on the air, the implosion of the Today Show family. It's all told in the story of Top of the Morning by Brian Stelter, who we have here. Brian, one theme of this book is that it seems like there's a lot of bullying of Ann Curry. The producers, they compare her to Big Bird. Was she bullied out of NBC, out of the Today Show?
I think she was probably bullied in the same way that lots of people at lots of offices are bullied. You know, not real bullying in the way that we might get uncomfortable with, but the sort of playful banter and sometimes teasing that happens in a lot of workplaces. But the way it was done to Ann and the way that she perceived it, I think, was different. I think she perceived it to be rather ugly. I don't think she knew even about all of what was happening. For example, the scene where she looked like Big Bird, some of the producers thought, so they put a picture of her and a picture of Big Bird up on the control room side by side and said, who wore it best? You know, she didn't know about that behavior at the time, but she did have this sense of unease about her future at the show. I think what happened was she got stuck between warring executives, between bosses who didn't agree about what her fate should be. And I think that's similar to other offices also. You know, there's lots of workplaces where you're trying to get promoted, people are fighting about it, and you get stuck between this civil war of suits. And that's sort of what doomed her in the end.
In the book, there's it's pretty clear that there's a contingent at NBC that really thought she was not great at this job.
Right.
This wasn't the job.
That was
for her.
very gentle of you to put it that way.
Yeah.
Understatement.
Yeah. Okay, so an understatement. But it's not as though you don't come down particularly hard on Ann Curry either. I mean, it's like, so referring to the way she was speaking in interviews and on the show, you say, it's as if she had been raised on another planet. This is a quote. There was an unsettlingly ambiguous look in her beautiful Bambi-like eyes. So how bad was she?
She was pretty bad at the job, and she wasn't getting a lot of support in order to get better. You know, because a lot of anchors in their first year struggle. Deborah Norville struggled in 1990 when she was briefly made a co-host of the Today Show, and then she was yanked off the stage the same way Ann Curry was. She struggled and she asked for help. Ann Curry, similarly, didn't feel like she was getting the right support from her producers. You know, she wasn't getting tape reviews the way that anchors expect to get tape reviews, where you come into the office almost like it's a Monday morning session after a football game. You watch the tape, you see what you could have done better. She wasn't getting that kind of support on a day-to-day basis. At least she says, according to through friends, that she wasn't getting that support. I should say, some of the producers say, we tried to help her. We wanted to give her help. She wasn't listening.
Was she set up to fail? I mean, it doesn't sound like they were giving her the
That's what she thinks. That looking back, that's what she thinks. That she was never really given a chance to perform or to succeed on the show. She feels that she was getting undermined from the first day at the job. And I think there is some truth to that. There's also some truth to the fact that she wasn't good at the job. And if you're not good at the job, if you don't bring your A game every day, if you're not performing, then you should expect to get yanked off the stage. This is one of the biggest stages in TV.
It seems like there are a lot of things that kind of went wrong with the Today Show, why it lost its ratings lead to the Good Morning America. You note that it kind of went stale, it started to get a little trashy. If you had to name two people responsible for the debacle, who would you say?
Well, there were two people that were in charge day to day. Jim Bell, who was the executive producer of the show, and Steve Kappas, who was supposed to be his boss, the president of NBC News. Both men had come in 2005. They both got in these jobs in 2005 at a time when Good Morning America was about to beat the Today Show. And they stopped it from happening. They fought back. They kept the show's incredible streak going. The show had been winning for 10 years. Then it was winning for 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years. And somewhere along the way, the show did get stale. They weren't willing to admit it at the time, but looking back now, they know that the show didn't evolve in the right ways. It got maybe too lazy, and that can happen. If you're winning for so long, the shows sometimes tend to get a little lazy. It happens, of course, in other industries too. I have an example in the book about General Motors. One of the contributors to the Today Show, Donnie Deutsch, said to Jim Bell that there's this General Motors problem. If you don't know how to compete, and then all of a sudden competitors come in this case Japanese automakers, then you don't know how to respond. It's very hard to move, to be able to adjust in that way.
So Jim Bell and
Steve Kappas. Steve Kappas is the president of NBC News, and they really didn't see eye to eye about what should be happening with the show. They were the two who were arguing over what Ann Curry's fate should be, and in some ways those arguments distracted people from trying to make the show better, from trying to evolve the show the way it needed to evolve.